Imagine walking through an airport, expecting a routine trip, when suddenly chaos unfolds before your eyes. A young black girl, no older than 10, is stopped by airport police for reasons unclear. Voices rise, confusion fills the air, and before anyone can make sense of it, an officer makes a shocking move. He punches the little girl and tears her passport in half. The crowd gasps, frozen in disbelief. But what the officers don't realize is that someone is watching closely. Among the travelers stands a Navy SEAL, trained to handle high-pressure situations and protect those in need. As tensions rise and the situation spirals, he knows he can't stay silent. What happens next will leave everyone stunned. Stay tuned as we dive into this unbelievable story of courage, justice, and the unexpected twists that follow. The airport buzzes with murmurs as people try to process what just happened. The little girl, shaken and confused, clutches what's left of her torn passport, tears welling in her eyes. Passengers glance around, unsure whether to step in or keep their distance. The officers, standing firm, seem unbothered by the scene they've created. But the Navy SEAL, watching from a few feet away, feels his instincts kicking in. His years of training have taught him to read situations fast, and something about this feels all wrong. Who is this girl? Why was she targeted? And more importantly, what are they trying to hide? He studies the officers carefully, noticing their uneasy glances and forced authority. He knows he needs to act, but not just yet. As he watches, he realizes there's more to this than meets the eye, and getting involved could change everything. The little girl's hands tremble as she looks up at the officers, her voice barely above a whisper. "Please, that's my passport." But her words are met with cold stares. A few passengers pull out their phones, recording the scene, while others avert their eyes, afraid to get involved. The Navy SEAL watches closely, his jaw tightening. He knows this isn't just about a passport. There's a deeper issue at play, something that doesn't sit right. The girl's mother, panicked and pleading, steps forward, but the officers push her back, warning her to stay out of it. The SEAL's instincts tell him there's more going on behind the scenes, and he's seen situations like this spiral out of control before. He watches their body language, the nervous glances, the subtle hand signals. It's clear they don't want attention, but they're getting it. He quietly moves closer, listening, waiting for the right moment to step in. The tension in the air thickens as the little girl clings to her mother, tears streaking down her face. The officers exchange uneasy glances, their authority starting to crack under the weight of the growing crowd. More people are watching now, whispering, recording, and questioning what's really going on. The Navy SEAL remains calm, but inside, his pulse quickens. Years of experience tell him that things are about to escalate, and he needs to be ready. He takes another step closer, carefully observing every move. The lead officer, sensing the growing pressure, suddenly raises his voice, trying to regain control. "Step back. This is official business." But the mother refuses to leave her daughter's side, her voice breaking with desperation. The SEAL notices something, the officer's hand hovering near his belt, a nervous twitch in his fingers. This situation could spiral any second, and he knows he's running out of time. Just when it seems like things can't get any worse, a man in a dark suit steps forward from the crowd. His presence is commanding, and the way the officers shift uncomfortably at the sight of him doesn't go unnoticed by the Navy SEAL. The man flashes a badge, but it's not a police badge. It's something different, something that makes the officers tense up. "What's going on here?" he asks, his voice calm but firm. The officers hesitate, their authority suddenly shaken. The SEAL watches carefully, sensing that this man might be the key to unraveling whatever is really happening. Meanwhile, the little girl grips her mother's hand tighter, her eyes darting between the officers and the mysterious figure. The crowd falls silent, hanging on every word. The lead officer stammers, trying to explain, but the man's sharp gaze cuts through his excuses. Something isn't adding up, and the SEAL knows the real story is just starting to surface. The tension is unbearable as the man in the dark suit steps closer, his eyes locked on the lead officer. "I suggest you explain yourself," he says, his voice dangerously calm. The officer swallows hard, glancing at his partner for help, but there's no way out. The Navy SEAL watches intently, ready to act if things take a turn. Suddenly, the officer's radio crackles, and a voice on the other end urgently demands an update. The officer hesitates, then mutters, "We might have a situation." The man in the suit narrows his eyes. "I'd say you do," he replies, pulling out a folder and handing it over. The officer's face goes pale as he reads the contents, something that clearly changes everything. The little girl and her mother hold their breath as the officer quickly steps back, his hands shaking. Then, without warning, he signals his team and they retreat, disappearing into the crowd. Just when it seems like it's over, the Navy SEAL notices the man in the suit watching him closely. "You saw everything," he says quietly. The SEAL nods. "Yeah, and I think there's more to this than just a passport." The man gives a knowing smile before turning to the little girl. "Let's get you home," he says. But deep down, the SEAL knows this isn't the end. It's just the beginning of something much bigger. As the officers disappear into the distance, the little girl clutches her mother tightly, relief washing over them both. The crowd slowly begins to disperse, murmuring about what just happened, some still recording, others shaking their heads in disbelief. The man in the suit kneels down, speaking softly to the girl, assuring her that everything will be okay. The Navy SEAL watches from a distance, his mind still racing. He's seen corruption before, but something about this incident feels different, like a piece of a much larger puzzle. He steps forward, offering the mother a reassuring nod before quietly walking away. As he heads toward his gate, he glances back one last time, knowing deep down that he was exactly where he needed to be today. Sometimes, the smallest actions can change everything, and as the airport returns to its usual rhythm, one thing is certain: justice found its way through the chaos.